Baidu's Ernie 5.0 destroys ChatGPT and DeepSeek? You're wasting hours testing AI tools that promise the world but deliver nothing. You keep hearing about the next big model, but you never know which ones are actually worth your time. Meanwhile, there's a Chinese AI that just beat GPT on the global leaderboard, and almost nobody's talking about it. If you're still stuck using the same old tools while this thing is quietly crushing benchmarks, you're already behind. Let me show you what Baidu just dropped and why it matters for anyone serious about AI. Hey, I'm Ava, and I help people cut through the AI hype to find what actually works. Today, we're diving deep into Baidu's Ernie 5.0 because this model just did something wild. It climbed to number 8 globally on the LM Arena leaderboard and became the #1 Chinese model, beating out GPT 5.1 High, second in the world for math. So yeah, this isn't just another Chinese AI trying to catch up. This is a serious competitor. Every few months, a new model drops and everyone freaks out. DeepSeek made waves, ChatGPT keeps updating, Claude's doing its thing. But Ernie 5.0 is different. In some areas, it's actually winning. Let's talk about what Ernie 5.0 actually is. This thing is massive. We're talking 2.4 trillion parameters. To put that in perspective, that's one of the largest publicly disclosed models out there. But here's where it gets interesting. It uses something called a mixture of experts architecture. What that means in plain English is that even though it has 2.4 trillion parameters, only about 3% of them activate when you ask it a question. So you get the power of a massive model, but it runs way more efficiently. Less cost, faster responses. That's the sweet spot. The real game changer is that Ernie 5.0 is natively multimodal. Most AI models were built for text first, then added images, audio, and video later. Ernie 5.0 was built from day one to handle all of them together. When you give it a prompt with text and an image, it understands them naturally without translating between separate systems. Huge for anyone working with mixed media. Now let's talk performance. On the LM Arena text leaderboard, Ernie 5.0 scored 1460 and ranked number 8 globally, beating GPT 5.1 High. A Chinese model beat OpenAI's latest high-performance version. And in math, it's number 2 globally, behind only GPT 5.2 High, beating Claude, beating Gemini, beating everything else. Context matters. Ernie 4.5, which came out earlier, already scored 77.77 in multimodal benchmarks versus GPT-4o's 73.92. It crushed in document understanding and math reasoning. So Baidu was building on solid ground. Benchmarks are one thing, but real-world use is another. What can you actually do with Ernie 5.0? It's available now through Ernie Bot for consumers and Qianfan for developers. It's already processing 16.5 billion API calls daily, not a lab experiment, a production model at massive scale. It's crushing creative writing tasks. When users vote between models in blind tests for creative content, Ernie 5.0 is winning. If you're drafting blog posts, marketing copy, or scripts, this is worth testing. It's also dominating hard prompts, complex instructions with multiple requirements that trip up most models. Huge for advanced users who need reliable performance on tough tasks. When I first started using different AI models, I was overwhelmed. That's when I found this community called AI Profit Boardroom, with over 2,000 members all focused on learning AI together and sharing what actually works. It taught me which workflows save time versus which ones waste it. The community shares real use cases and practical implementations. If you're serious about using AI to improve your work and skills, check it out. Link in description. Now let's address the elephant in the room. This is a Chinese model from Baidu. Some people hear that and immediately have concerns. And look, I get it. There are valid questions about data privacy, censorship, and geopolitical stuff. Baidu's models do operate under Chinese regulations. The earlier Ernie bot refused to answer questions about certain political topics during public tests. So if you're working with sensitive data or you need completely uncensored responses, that's something to consider. But from a pure capability standpoint, this model is competitive with anything else out there. And for many use cases, especially if you're focused on learning building skills and improving workflows, the technical performance is what matters most. One thing that surprised me when I dug into the technical details is how Baidu approaches training. They use something called unified autoregressive architecture. Basically, they discretize training objectives across all modalities and train everything under one framework. That deep feature fusion is what allows the model to be so good at handling mixed inputs. It's not just duct taping different systems together, it's one coherent system that learned everything simultaneously. The model also has enhanced agentic capabilities. What that means is it can plan and execute multi-step tasks. It can use tools, it can work through long horizon problems where you need it to remember context and build on previous steps. Baidu trained it with reinforcement learning using chain of thought and chain of action methods. So when you give it a complex workflow, it can actually think through the steps and take actions to complete it. That's beyond just answering questions. That's moving into actual task automation. Here's what's most interesting about Ernie 5.0 in the bigger picture. For the longest time, the narrative was that Western AI companies are leading and everyone else is catching up. That was true. But now with DeepSeek Ernie and models from Alibaba and ByteDance Chinese AI isn't just catching up. In some benchmarks, it's ahead. Competition is good. More innovation, better models released faster. OpenAI can't assume they'll always be number one. Google has to keep improving Gemini. Anthropic has to keep developing Claude. All of that benefits everyone using these tools. If you've been sticking with just ChatGPT, start testing other models. Ernie 5.0 is free through ErnieBot. Compare it side by side. See which gives better results for your use cases. You won't know unless you test. The LM Arena leaderboard is where users vote on blind comparisons. You don't know which model you're talking to, you pick the better response. That's how rankings are determined. Real human preferences from thousands of daily votes. When Ernie 5.0 ranks number 8 globally, that's users around the world voting in actual usage. Now, I want to talk about where Ernie 5.0 might not be the best choice because it's not perfect. And I'm not here to hype up any single tool. If you primarily work in English and need absolutely top-tier English language performance models like GPT or Claude might still have an edge. Ernie 5.0 was heavily optimized for Chinese language contexts. It's great in English too, but there's a home field advantage for the language it was primarily trained on. If you're looking to dive deeper into AI tools and actually implement them in your work, I recommend AI Profit Boardroom. Over 2,000 people learning how to use AI effectively. Everyone shares real experiences. What's working, what's not, which tools are worth your time, which ones to skip, no hype, just solid information and practical guidance from people doing the work. It's helped me stay on top of updates and figure out how to actually apply them. Link in description if you want to check it out. And if you want the full process, SOPs, and 100 plus AI use cases like this one, join the AI Success Lab. Links in the comments and description. You'll get all the video notes from there, plus access to our community of 46,000 members who are crushing it with AI. The AI landscape is changing faster than most people realize. A year ago, if you said a Chinese model would beat GPT on a global leaderboard, people would have been skeptical. Now it's reality. We're going to see more competition, more innovation, better models, lower costs. Ernie 5.0 is proof that you can't assume the biggest names are always the best. You have to test, stay informed, be willing to switch tools when something better comes along. Go test Ernie 5.0. Compare it with what you're using, see what works better, and keep learning because this space is moving fast, and the people who stay curious are the ones who benefit most. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.